Chapter 797, Circis Island. Chapter 797, Circis Island. Circis Island was very prosperous. There were plenty of shops and huge crowds of people. Soon after arriving on the island, Jen Wushuang found that the experts here had pretty high standards. There were countless divine realm experts here, and there were many experts at the eternal realm. When he arrived at the island, he headed directly for an intelligence shop. Please give me a piece of information about Circis Island. The more detailed, the better, Jen Wushuang said to the attendant at the counter. The most detailed information will cost 100,000 divine gems, the attendant replied with a smile. It's so expensive. Jen Wushuang recoiled inwardly at the price. 100,000 divine gems was about all money that a superior divine realm expert would own. It's just a piece of detailed information about this island. The cost is exorbitant. Despite this, Jen Wushuang purchased the information at a cost of 100,000 divine gems. In the last 37 years that he spent traveling, he had met and killed scores of bandits, some of whom were experts at Step 1 or Step 2 of the Eternal Realm. He had obtained many divine gems from them, adding on to his stash from the Firmament territory. Now, he still had a large number of divine gems left after his trip through the wormhole of the Void Temple. Thus, 100,000 divine gems was relatively insignificant to Jen Wushuang. And I also want the details of an expert on Circis Island, Jen Wushuang added. Whose? The attendant inquired. Lei Xin, he's a strong guy, an Eternal Realm expert. He should have broken through to Step 4 of the Eternal Realm at least, perhaps even Step 5. I heard that he has joined a great power, and that he has a disciple named Su Ming, Jen Wushuang replied flatly. Wait a minute please, the attendant said as he looked down to search for information. After a while, he looked up again and continued, I've found the details of the man you mentioned. This information is very valuable. The price is 200,000 divine gems. Without hesitation, Jen Wushuang paid 200,000 divine gems. The attendant quickly arranged all the information, handed it to Jen Wushuang and said, This is what you've bought. Jen Wushuang took the information and placed it in his interspatial ring, then walked away. There were numerous shops and taverns on the busy streets of Circis Island. Jen Wushuang entered a 3-story tavern. He chose a seat near the window and ordered a jug of wine. He began to drink while perusing the information he had bought. Tut, tut, the Lord of Circis Island is really awesome, Jen Wushuang gasped in admiration. According to the information he had obtained, there was a lord of this Circis Island who possessed exceptional power. Circis Island abutted the Tang of the East. Its location had led to a large number of experts passing through. Many experts often gathered on the island. Having to face so many experts, the Lord of Circis Island had adopted a tough stance and what he said carried weight. He had made many rules on Circis Island, and no one had ever dared to break them, including the supreme experts in the level of Dao Master. It was said that a powerful Dao Master had once violated the rules, challenged the authority of the Lord of Circis Island. The Lord had dealt with him personally. The powerful Dao Master had been immediately suppressed by the Lord of Circis Island. The Lord's power may not be as great as that of the 4 emperors at the height of the Tang of the East, but many in the eternal world were in awe of his power. The information also mentioned that he was eccentric and that his rules were outlandish. The first rule was that private fighting and killing were not allowed on Circis Island. For that reason, there was a blood battle arena on the island, which had been specially established for fights. In the blood battle arena, the fighters were not restrained even if someone was killed, whereas the fighters would come to a bad end if they fought on the other parts of the island and were caught. The Lord of Circis Island built up the Circis army at great expense to keep the peace on the island, Jen Wushuang read. Then he squinted through the window at the teams of purple-armored sergeants who occasionally passed the street below the tavern. Those sergeants were part of the Circis army. The army, founded by the Lord of Circis Island, consisted of 10,000 sergeants. Every sergeant in the army was carefully selected. Even the weakest sergeant had the battle strength of a superior divine realm expert, and the leader of a 10-sergeant squad was in the Eternal Realm. Within the Circis army, the higher the rank of a sergeant, the more formidable he was. Of the 10,000 Circis army sergeants, the weakest is the superior divine realm expert, and about 1,000 sergeants are experts in the eternal realm. Jian Wushuang was impressed. There were more eternal realm experts in the army than in all of the firmament territory. The sergeants are scattered all over the island, so no matter where the fighting is happening, swift action can be taken by the army. In addition, some of the sergeants are at step 4 or 5 of the eternal realm, which guarantees that fierce fights can be easily suppressed. Jian Wushuang went on reading, and thought to himself, if I fight on this island, I'm afraid I'll be put down by them too. Fortunately, this rule is not absolute, he murmured and smiled. The second rule of Circis Island stated that anyone who had won 10 times in a row in the blood battle arena would be entitled to a Circis token. That token gave its owner the privilege to kill people anywhere on the island. The first rule forbade fighting and killing, while the second gave some experts the privilege of killing. It demonstrated how strange the island owner's rules were. Blood battle arena. The information purchased by Jian Wushuang also contained details about the blood battle arena. The blood battle arena was the craziest killing field on Circis Island, a battlefield for life or death duels. Many experts had fought each other in the blood battle arena. There were usually casualties for at least one side. Fighters typically met cruel ends, so the people who fought in the blood battle arena were real experts who had great confidence in themselves. After 10 consecutive victories in the blood battle arena, the winner would be given a Circis token. The Circis token gave the winner many privileges on Circis Island, such as shopping concessions in all its shops, and the privilege of living on the island all year round. It was said that it was possible to obtain 100 victories in a row. However, few experts could achieve this, and such an expert may not show up one for hundreds of years. It was more common to see experts winning 10 consecutive victories. As Jian Wushuang went through the information, he suddenly noticed a handsome young man escorted by 2 guards into the shop opposite the tavern. Immediately, his face became grim, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "Su Ming," Jian Wushuang muttered. He clenched his hands resentfully, and the cup in his hand nearly crumbled. Chapter 798, Blood Battle Arena. Chapter 798, Blood Battle Arena. After entering the shop, the handsome young man, Su Ming, walked quickly towards its interior, where a bald elder bearing a thundercloud mark between his eyes quietly sat cross-legged. "Master," Su Ming greeted him respectfully. "Elder Lei Xin," the 2 guards also addressed him courteously. Lei Xin nodded to them, and turned his eyes on Su Ming. "Where have you been?" "I've just been wandering the streets nearby, Master," Su Ming answered with a forced smile. Lei Xin's face abruptly darkened. "Humph, I've warned you several times not to stay out of my sight for this period, but have you actually been listening?" he reprimanded Su Ming coldly. Su Ming frowned and argued, "Master, it's just Jian Wushuang. This is Circis Island. Unless he is a fool, he would know the consequences of fighting on the island. Furthermore, I have 2 protectors with me. He doesn't have the ability to kill me even if he finds me. There's still a risk. Lei Yang told me that although Jian Wushuang may only be a divine realm expert, his strength is so extraordinary that even he, an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm, was frightened. If Jian Wushuang does try to assassinate you, I'm afraid you won't be able to escape," Lei Xin said in a deep tone. A divine realm expert had frightened an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm? "Do you really believe that, Master?" Su Ming sneered. Lei Xin squinted and looked, deep in thought. The gap between the divine realm and the eternal realm was huge. It was impressive for a divine realm expert to match an ordinary eternal realm expert. Such a divine realm expert could be regarded as the strongest divine realm expert. It was almost impossible for a divine realm expert to be stronger than an expert at step 3 of the eternal realm. In any case, Lei Xin had never seen or even heard of such a mighty expert before. "It's always wise to play safe," Lei Xin told Su Ming gravely. He glanced at the 2 guards beside Su Ming and ordered, "You 2 have to follow him closely." "Yes, Elder Lei Xin, rest assured. We will stay close to Master Su Ming," one of the 2 guards promised. "Good," Lei Xin nodded and turned to Su Ming. "Always take with you the thing I gave you." Never remove it or put it in your interspatial ring. If you are really in danger, it could save your life. I got it, Master, Su Ming nodded deferentially. You can leave now, Lei Xin said and waved them away. Su Ming and his 2 guards left immediately. The bald elder Lei Xin continued to sit there quietly as he watched Su Ming's retreating figure. He shook his head silently. Lei Xin was born without any family. He grew up alone in adversity, joined the Universal Thunder sect and eventually became the sect master. He had always been alone, with no master or disciple. The opportunity he had left in the ancient world had been obtained by Su Ming. The latter, like him, was a man who would do anything to attain his goal. Therefore, he had accepted Su Ming as his disciple. It was not easy for him to get a disciple, so he valued Su Ming very much. After leaving Lei Xin, Su Ming and his 2 guards emerged from the shop and walked to the next street. Jian Wushuang had been watching them from the tavern in silence. He had no intention of taking action. The sect master Lei Xin really treasures his disciple. He actually arranged for 2 Eternal Realm experts to be Su Ming's guards. He deserves to be one of the guest elders of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. Jian Wushuang's lips were pressed into a thin smile. He continued to drink in solitude. He had read Lei Xin's information carefully. When Lei Xin had left the firmament territory, he had only been at step 4 of the Eternal Realm. As he wandered, his strength had grown. Now, he was at step 5 of the Eternal Realm, and had even broken through to the top of this step. In a nutshell, he was extremely powerful. Most importantly, Lei Xin was a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. The Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was a force to be reckoned with in Circis Island. On this island, the most exalted one was surely the Lord of Circis Island and his Circis army. In addition to the Lord of Circis Island, there were 6 forces that were entrenched on Circis Island. All the 6 forces were under the command of the Lord. Usually, they operated as separate entities. They had a long history and were very strong. They were said to have Tao Masters as their backers. And the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was one of the 6 forces. As a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, Lei Xin had an extraordinary position in the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. He now ran nearly a third of the shops belonging to them. Su Ming's master is not just an expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, but also a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. And Su Ming is protected by 2 Eternal Realm guards. We're also on Circis Island, so I'd have a lot of trouble killing him. Jian Wushuang's eyes were narrowed, but he didn't look anxious at all. Well, I'll leave him alone for now. I'll go to the blood battle arena first and try to get a Circis token. I have the privilege of killing people on this island only with a Circis token. With this in mind, Jian Wushuang emptied his cup, and then checked out before leaving the tavern. The blood battle arena was at the very center of Circis Island and was situated underground. When Jian Wushuang arrived at the blood battle arena, the scene of madness before him took his breath away. Jian Wushuang had been to a similar place in the ancient world. He was a teenager at the time, and he had gone to the gladiator arena to participate in duels to get more spirit-cultivating pills. The gladiator arena also looked pretty crazy, but was nothing compared to the blood battle arena. The vast underground world had a radius of thousands of kilometers. There were numerous seats, in which more than 1 million people sat, screaming wildly. But these people didn't even fill 1/10 of the seats in this underground world. There were 2 huge arenas in the middle of the underground world. A fierce battle was currently taking place in one. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, yes, fight. The exclamations, screams and howls drowned out the fighting at the arena. That's really crazy. Jian Wushuang was shocked at the scene. He took a seat and watched the fight in the arena. The 2 fighters were clearly superior Divine Realm experts and both were formidable. Chapter 799, 10 Consecutive Victories. Chapter 799, 10 Consecutive Victories. Bang! An almighty bang was suddenly heard issuing from the center of the arena. A fighter's lower limbs had burst open and blood was spurting out. The other fighter, a fierce man, laughed as he clenched his right hand and directed his punch towards his opponent's head. A faint roar akin to that of a savage beast could be heard as the wounded man's head was pulverized. There was no doubt that he was dead. The death did not silence the blood battle arena. Instead, it caused a greater uproar. The winner is Skull. Do you want to continue the challenge, Skull? Asked the host of the fight, who was an Eternal Realm expert. Haha, of course, Skull replied after a bellow of laughter. His voice echoed through the arena. As soon as Skull had announced his decision, a superior Divine Realm expert arrived at the arena and tried to challenge him. Jian Wushuang continued to sit in the audience and watched their fight silently. He watched more than 10 fierce fights successively. Of the 13 men who were defeated in these fights, only 3 survived. The other 10 died on the arena. This was the brutality and madness of the blood battle arena. There were 2 kinds of blood battle arenas, one for Divine Realm experts and the other for Eternal Realm experts. The fight between experts in the Eternal Realm took place only once every month, with at most a dozen duels each time. It was violent but not crazy. However, the fight between the Divine Realm experts took place every day, and thus a large number of Divine Realm experts died every day. Even so, there was no stopping the madness. Circus Island had many more experts in the Divine Realm than in the Eternal Realm. Their large number made them insignificant. These Divine Realm experts clearly know that the odds of death are very high, and that those who dare to fight in the blood battle arena are all superior Divine Realm experts. Still, they continue to challenge themselves. It's really... Jian Wushuang sighed inwardly. Divine Realm experts who could obtain Circus tokens would reap many benefits on Circus Island. Other benefits aside, permanent residency on the island had great appeal, in addition to the privilege of killing people. Furthermore, the Circus token could be sold for an astronomical price. As the benefits were so attractive, the Divine Realm experts were willing to take risks. For me, there's no need to waste time watching the life-or-death duels between Divine Realm experts, Jian Wushuang muttered as he shook his head subtly. Then he walked to the arena and signed up for the fight. The frenzied fight continued on the arena. Jian Wushuang had no idea how many superior Divine Realm experts had appeared on the arena, but he had not seen anyone win 5 fights in a row. That was, until a girl in a green dress appeared on the arena. The girl showed remarkable strength with a spear. She defeated 6 superior Divine Realm experts with ease. She is quite good. She must be close to the peak of the Divine Realm, Jian Wushuang speculated silently. At this point, the next challenger is Swordsman, the host shouted wildly. Oh! Jian Wushuang's eyebrows were arched and he smiled as he appeared on the arena like a phantom. Immediately, the attention of the audience was directed at him. Oh, oh, oh! The frenzied howls from the audience continued. Jian Wushuang ignored the noise as he turned his eyes to the girl opposite him. Swordsman? Is that an alias? The girl looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, replied Jian Wushuang. You seem confident. The girl smiled. Not bad. Be careful then. It's a life-or-death duel. I have no intention of killing you, but if I can't stop my attack, you can't blame me. With that, the girl began to attack Jian Wushuang. Swoosh. The long spear was thrusted straight at Jian Wushuang. As the spear moved, a series of strange-looking whirlpools appeared in the void. The speed of the spear was extraordinary. Good, Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. At first glance, Jian Wushuang already knew that the girl had condensed her spear heart, which was already steady at level 1. Thus, her overall strength was comparable to that of the most powerful Divine Realm expert. Normally, it would not be difficult for her to win 10 consecutive battles to get a Circus token. Unfortunately, she had run into Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang struck. It was a casual, ordinary blow. The girl was stunned by the movement as she could not see its tracks at all. With a crash, the girl's long spear flew out of her hand. Blood gushed out from the new cut on her wrist. Jian Wushuang withdrew his sword and stood still. Thank you. The girl looked at Jian Wushuang gratefully. She retrieved her long spear and hurried off the arena. She was well aware that Jian Wushuang had gone easy on her. His horrifying. I'm one of the most powerful Divine Realm experts and can even fight an expert at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm, but he defeated me with one blow. If he didn't show mercy, I'd be dead now. It's my first time seeing such a terrifying divine realm expert. She was still in shock even as she stepped off the arena. The audience had started to cheer when they saw Jian Wushuang defeat the girl with a single blow. Swordsman! Swordsman! The audience chanted his name. The host asked, Swordsman, do you want to continue the challenge? Yes, of course, replied Jian Wushuang, smiling. Subsequently, several people challenged him. These challengers were very strong. Each of them was a superior divine realm expert. Some were almost as skillful as the strongest divine realm experts. But to Jian Wushuang, they were weak. One blow. As he had done with his first opponent, Jian Wushuang defeated the next 9 challengers with one blow. Unsurprisingly, he obtained 10 consecutive victories. Jian Wushuang was merciful and did not kill his opponents. Only one challenger had been killed because he had continued to fight despite being wounded by Jian Wushuang. Chapter 800 An Assassination. Chapter 800 An Assassination. After successively winning 10 fights, Jian Wushuang walked off the arena. Mr. Swordsman, here's your Circe's token. You can use it yourself, lend it to someone or sell it. You may not obtain more than 1 token, said the host, an Eternal Realm expert. I see, thank you, said Jian Wushuang as he took the token. He stained the token with a drop of his blood to mark his ownership before getting ready to leave. Swordsman, a voice behind him stopped him in his tracks. Jian Wushuang turned and saw the girl who had been his first opponent on the arena. She approached him with a smile on her face. Congratulations, she said. Yes. Jian Wushuang asked indifferently. I'm Lin Wan. I'm here to thank you for showing me mercy during the fight, explained the girl. I have nothing against you. I just wanted to get a Circe's token. There was no need to kill you, Jian Wushuang said coolly. He quickly took his leave to avoid entanglements with the girl. This guy is interesting. Lin Wan wasn't offended by Jian Wushuang's indifference. Instead, her curiosity about him grew. I thought it would be easy for me to get a Circe's token in the blood battle arena. I wasn't expecting him to defeat me so easily. My father was right. The Eternal World has an abundant number of experts and there are many hidden talents on Circe's Island, Lin Wan thought in amazement. Just then, 2 white-robed figures rushed forward anxiously. Miss, thank God we've found you. Let's go back at once. His Excellency would be furious to know that you were in the blood battle arena. I just got here. Don't worry. I'll go back after getting a Circe's token, Lin Wan scowled. A Circe's token? The 2 white-robed figures exchanged shocked glances. One of them continued to persuade her. Miss, please don't be willful. The fights here are very cruel. If you get injured, we'll both be blamed for it. You may ask His Excellency for a Circe's token. You don't have to fight here. All right. Cut the crap. I'll go back, Lin Wan muttered, and followed the 2 white-robed men away from the blood battle arena. After leaving the blood battle arena, Jian Wushuang rented a mansion on the island and settled down before looking for chances to kill Su Ming. Soon, 3 days had passed. Jian Wushuang sat by the window on the 2nd floor of a restaurant. He was drinking and paying close attention to what was happening downstairs. He could clearly see Su Ming, who was protected by the 2 Eternal Realm experts. It has been 3 days. Su Ming has been staying in the block of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, and his 2 guards have not left his side. It'll be impossible for me to take action even after he leaves the block. The block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was filled with experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, including Lei Yixin. If Jian Wushuang attacked Su Ming, those experts would retaliate immediately. It was risky for him to make his move while Su Ming resided in the block. However, given the present situation, he had to take a risk. With the help of his master, Su Ming's strength has improved rapidly and he has become a superior divine realm expert. Even so, if I do try to kill him, he won't have time to react. Jian Wushuang analyzed the situation. As for his 2 guards, they are only at step 1 of the Eternal Realm. My sudden attack will catch them off guard. I'll find an excellent opportunity, kill Su Ming with 1 blow, and leave immediately. Having made a decision, Jian Wushuang's expression lightened. In the last 3 days, he had assessed the strength of Su Ming and his 2 guards. With his strength, he had excellent chances of carrying out a successful assassination, and he would have time to escape. Jian Wushuang left the restaurant and edged closer to where Su Ming was. Jian Wushuang had completely restrained his aura so that he did not attract any attention. Su Ming did not notice him even as he drew within 50 m of him. I only have 1 chance. If I fail to kill him this time, he will be more careful and even stay with his master. If that happens, I won't be able to kill him. So I have to kill him now, Jian Wushuang said to himself. His eyes gleamed in anticipation. Now. He suddenly moved. His speed instantly reached its peak as he unsheathed the Emperor sword. He crossed the distance of less than 50 meters in a flash and swung his sword at unprecedented speed. This move was called Twilight. A beautiful sword shadow emerged silently before Su Ming's throat. Jian Wushuang's sword heart reached its fullest power and trembled slightly in his sea of consciousness. He was not adept at assassination, but he knew how to find the perfect time to kill. At the perfect moment, he delivered the most unexpected blow with astonishing speed. That blow left his target no chance of survival. There was absolutely no way Su Ming could have avoided it. In the street, Su Ming was guarded by 2 Eternal Realm experts. He was deep in thought over what his master had told him and did not even notice the fatal blow approach him. The 2 guards did not notice anything amiss until the sword shadow appeared in front of Su Ming's throat. Crap! The 2 guards could not do anything as the sword shadow was too close. Clank! A low metal crash sounded, and Jian Wushuang's face immediately darkened. Unexpectedly, an energy shield had suddenly appeared around Su Ming at the critical moment and blocked Jian Wushuang's blow. The energy shield broke as it deflected the strike. The ring on Su Ming's finger also disintegrated. That ring was the life-saving item that Lei Xin had given Su Ming. It contained a layer of energy shield, which would automatically activate when Su Ming encountered a life crisis, but it would only work once. What? Su Ming finally realized what was happening. He raised his head and stared hard at Jian Wushuang, who had a murderous look on his face. Jian Wushuang. Su Ming let out a sharp cry of fear. And as he quickly backed away, he brought out his token to make contact with his master. Master, hurry up, save me. Jian Wushuang is trying to kill me. Chapter 801, The Assassination Attempt. Chapter 801, The Assassination Attempt. Damn it! Who would have guessed that Su Ming has such a life-saving item? Jian Wushuang swore angrily. Seeing his fatal blow deflected by the energy shield emerging from Su Ming's ring, Jian Wushuang turned pale but did not give up. When Su Ming quickly backed away, he immediately chased after. But then Su Ming's 2 guards who were in the Eternal Realm tried to stop him. You bastard, go to hell. The 2 guards showed off their strength as experts at Step 1 of the Eternal Realm. One of them swung his saber straight at Jian Wushuang, the blade flashing like a gust of wind. The other one clenched his hands into 2 fists and hurtled at Jian Wushuang with the momentum of an avalanche. Out of the way! Jian Wushuang shouted. His eyes flickered with harsh light. His Emperor sword was swung horizontally, and when its power exploded, the sword flashed upward. All of this was done by Jian Wushuang in an instant. What? The guard wielding the saber opened his eyes in horror as the sword shadow that Jian Wushuang made shot through the gap of his saber straight at his neck. Swish! The sword shadow passed inexorably around the guard's neck, his head flying away. Besides, parts of the sword shadow's power entered his body and shattered his life core. Then the sword shadow was lifted up and turned to chop off the other guard's arm. The guard had no time to dodge and his arm was completely cut apart. It took Jian Wushuang only a moment to get through the 2 guards. However, as the guard's sacrifice bought enough time for Su Ming to run away, and Jian Wushuang found that many people with a powerful aura rushed out of some of the surrounding shops and not far away a patrol of the Circis army also was heading to where he was. If I don't go now, I won't be able to get away, he assessed the situation swiftly in his mind. He then cast a sharp glance at Su Ming before he turned and darted back toward the void. Humph! A cold snort suddenly echoed through the air. "Now that you're here, stay here," the voice continued. Then an old and strong figure enveloped in purple thunderbolts flew out of a shop and went straight after Jian Wushuang. He radiated infinite purple thunderbolts, making himself look like a master of thunder. "Master," Su Ming called. He was overjoyed to see the man. "The sect master Lei Xin, that's too bad." Jian Wushuang's face hardened. According to the information he purchased, Lei Xin possessed the battle strength of an expert at the peak step 5 of the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang was not quite sure he could handle him now. "I have to run away." He made a quick decision. He immediately launched the Dragon Blood secret skill to burn up his spiritual power. Although it was only the first move of the Dragon Blood secret skill, it increased his speed a tenfold, leaving the experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion unable to catch up with him. Lei Xin squinted and slapped the void where Jian Wushuang was across the air. With this stroke, a huge purple thunderbolt shot out at incredible speed and caught up with Jian Wushuang in a fraction of a second. "Ha!" Jian Wushuang paled at the sight of the purple thunderbolt. The blow hurtling towards him was to be reckoned with, although its power was diminished by its passage through such a distance in the void. Jian Wushuang grasped the Emperor sword in his hand, turned suddenly and arose his power to strike the thunderbolt with his sword. This was the most powerful secret skill Jian Wushuang had created. Bang! Jian Wushuang gave a groan of pain, a trickle of blood came streaming out of his mouth. Fortunately, the purple thunderbolt had been partially blocked, and with the shock of that purple thunderbolt, his speed was even faster. He darted out into the street ahead of him in the blink of an eye and quickly disappeared into the crowd. Buzz! In the void, many figures with a towering aura appeared. In a flash, dozens of experts poured out of this block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. These experts were above Step 3 of the Eternal Realm, among which Lei Xin was the strongest. Surrounded by purple thunderbolts, Lei Xin looked down at the street where Jian Wushuang had disappeared. "He has run away," he said with a hard look on his face. "Master." Elder Lei Xin. Su Ming and the guard, whose arm had been cut off by Jian Wushuang, appeared beside Lei Xin. Su Ming still looked scared. He clearly knew that he would have died without the life-saving item that he had received from his master. Lei Xin turned to Su Ming and asked, "Is that Jian Wushuang?" "Yes," Su Ming replied, nodding heavily, with unwillingness surging in his heart. Then he added, "He should have come to the eternal world later than I did. Thus he has only been in this world for about 100 years. I did not expect that he had become so strong." "He is indeed really strong," the guard said. Then he recounted their fight with Jian Wushuang. He attacked Master Su Ming all of a sudden. It was so fast that neither I nor Chen Yuan could react. Luckily, Master Su Ming had the life-saving item. And then I joined forces with Chen Yuan to try to stop him, but as a result. Remembering everything, the guard could not help but think of the scene when he fought Jian Wushuang. Actually, their fight happened in a flash. It was a very frightening scene, and his swordsmanship is horrifying. In an instant, he killed Chen Yuan and cut off my arm, and that was with just one blow. Above all, he is just a divine realm expert. I have seen countless divine realm experts, but I have never seen such a terrifying expert as him. Lei Xin's eyes narrowed slightly at his words. Just now he had also attacked Jian Wushuang. He had been far away from Jian Wushuang at the time, and his attack only a casual slap, but without powerful strength, a normal expert could not have taken it. Jian Wushuang, however, confronted his attack and handled it perfectly. It turns out that what Lei Yang has told me is more than mere exaggerations. There's something about that young man. Lei Xin muttered. Then he looked at the coming 100 sergeant squad of the Circis army. "Someone just tried to assassinate my disciple, didn't you Circis army see that?" Lei Xin asked in a cold voice. The sergeants had finally arrived, but they had not searched the street where Jian Wushuang had disappeared, which made Lei Xin dissatisfied. "Yes, we did," the captain of the squad replied, looking directly at Lei Xin. "I sensed he had a Circis token, so it's not against the rules for him to kill a person. As long as he doesn't overdo it, we won't stop him," the captain explained. "He has a Circis token?" Lei Xin frowned. Chapter 802, To Find Him. Chapter 802, To Find Him. Humph, few experts have the Circis token on Circis Island. Jian Wushuang is from the ancient world and came here from the firmament territory. He is a total stranger on this island. He couldn't borrow or buy one. It must be because of his 10 consecutive victories in the blood battle arena, Lei Yixin analyzed. With his strength, it's easy for him to win 10 fights in a row in the blood battle arena. Then he turned his furious eyes on an expert from the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion beside him, and demanded, "Go and find out who has won 10 fights in a row in the blood battle arena recently. You've got to find him anyway." "Yes," the expert replied and immediately went to investigate what Lei Yixin had asked for. As one of the 6 biggest forces on Circis Island, the intelligence capability of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion was excellent. And it didn't take long for the results to be found. Swordsman who came to the blood battle arena 3 days ago. He defeated 10 superior divine realm experts in succession, one of whom possessed the battle strength close to the strongest divine realm expert. And he beat these experts with only 1 blow each. With such excellent swordsmanship, he must be Jian Wushuang. Then the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion found the mansion where Jian Wushuang had lived for the last 3 days. Lei Yixin went to the mansion himself, but when he got there, Jian Wushuang had already gone. He's so smart. Lei Yixin stood dumbfounded where Jian Wushuang had been not too long ago, his eyes gleaming sharply. "Don't think I can't find you." Then he called, "Protector Yu." A black-robed man who followed him immediately came forward and replied, "Yes, Elder Lei Yixin. Do you know the purpose of me calling you for this occasion?" Lei Yixin asked while throwing the black-robed man a glance. "Yes, rest assured, Elder." The tenant had left the mansion, but there are many remnants of his auras here. These are enough for me to trace him with my secret skill. As long as he hasn't left Circis Island, I'm sure I can find him, the black-robed man responded with confidence. In the eternal world, there was a myriad of experts, as well as tons of kinds of secret skills. Protector Yu was proficient in a very special secret skill for tracking. As long as a person left enough auras, he could use that secret skill to find out where the person was in a certain range. After a while Protector Yu came to a conclusion. "Elder Lei Yixin, I've found out where he probably is. He's still on Circis Island. Come with me," he said to Lei Yixin. Then he led Lei Yixin to a specific direction on the island. In an ordinary restaurant on the edge of the island, Jian Wushuang sat at a table, wearing a silver wicked mask. He had also changed into a white robe, and even his long sword on his back was now a huge axe instead. His temperament had become extraordinarily aggressive and domineering. At first glance, he looked like a completely different person. And he was sure that Su Ming would not recognize him when they met again. Heavenly Cloud Pavilion is like an overlord on Circis Island. With their power, they could find my mansion as easily as drinking water. In all likelihood, Lei Yixin has taken his men to my rented mansion by now. Jian Wushuang speculated. And his face covered by the silver wicked mask was quite somber at the moment. "I miscalculated." Jian Wushuang gripped the cup. He had truly miscalculated. He had no idea that Su Ming was not only publicly guarded, but that he had a life-saving item on him, which worked automatically when he encountered a life-or-death crisis. That kind of life-saving item was priceless. It was the equivalent of giving its carrier an extra life. Lei Yixin could only get one of such precious items. And this one really saved his disciple's life. After the assassination attempt, Su Ming will surely be more cautious. That will make it harder for me to kill him. Jian Wushuang thought, squinting. At this point, buzz. A band of mighty pressure suddenly came and covered the restaurant that Jian Wushuang was in. What's going on? Jian Wushuang wondered, looking up with a frown. He saw 2 men coming slowly out of the void, and the front man, completely covered by purple thunderbolts, was clearly Lei Yixin. Jian Wushuang immediately realized that the mighty pressure that covered the whole restaurant emanated from Lei Yixin. Behind him was a man in a black robe. The man looked at Jian Wushuang with blazing eyes and laughed. "Elder Lei Yixin, that man is the one you're looking for." Lei Yixin also turned his eyes on Jian Wushuang. Damn it. Jian Wushuang's face clouded at once. He was not expecting that Lei Xin could find him even though he had deliberately disguised himself and changed his temperament. Heavenly Cloud Pavilion really has terrific means. Jian Wushuang sighed helplessly. Young man, do you think I can't find you just because you wear a mask? Lei Xin's angry voice echoed through the air like thunder, and it carried a sound wave attack that came directly at Jian Wushuang. Knowing he was already exposed, Jian Wushuang no longer bothered hiding. With a move, he was already in the void, right in front of Lei Xin. His mask had been removed, and with the Emperor sword in his hand, his temperament had returned to its former overwhelming sharpness. You're worthy of being the guest elder of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. You have such a brilliant skill to keep finding me. Jian Wushuang sneered, without the slightest fear. Humph, my skill is beyond the imagination of a brat like you, Lei Xin said in a stentorian voice. Cut the crap. Now that you dared to assassinate my disciple, you must die today. As these words were spoken, a purple stone staff materialized in Lei Xin's hand, which was circled around by a mess of purple thunderbolts. As Lei Xin swung it out, it struck at Jian Wushuang like a bolt. Rumbling. It looked as if the whole world was about to be split open by the attack. That strike carried so much power that it would frighten an expert at Step 4 of the Eternal Realm, not to mention a Divine Realm expert. Chapter 803 Lei Xin. Chapter 803 Lei Xin. You have used your full force on the first move, haven't you? Hehe, Sect Master Lei Xin, you really look up to me. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, but he looked very grave. He found that Lei Xin was at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, and he was even more powerful than other experts in the Eternal Realm that Jian Wushuang had met. With a buzz of his bloodline power, Jian Wushuang's body grew at tremendous speed, and in a second, he transformed into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god. What's that? That person is so tall. Who is him? What a formidable aura. At the sight of Jian Wushuang's huge body, a large number of warriors around started looking concerned. The ancient gods were not rare in the firmament territory, and thus the experts there would not be surprised to see someone turn into one. However, far from the firmament territory, Circe's Island had no eternal zone. No one present had ever seen or even heard of the ancient gods, so they were certainly shocked to see a gold-armored ancient god for the first time. Standing in the void, that golden giant emitted an overbearing aura. His cold eyes cast dark golden lights and shot violently at Lei Xin. The next moment his Emperor sword, which had also grown and was 10 meters in length, was swung out with an echo. The first move of the Boundless Heaven sword art, the Annihilation sword move. Jian Wushuang also went all out on his first move, and the power of his sword heart reached its perfection. Two terrible attacks hit each other in a split second. Boom! A slight space rift appeared in the void where the collision occurred. In the Eternal World, one could never cause a space rift in the void without the battle strength of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. After that blow, Jian Wushuang's giant body instantly turned into a flash of light and shot quickly back, smashing down several buildings before stopping. As an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, Lei Xin really is powerful. I tried my best to launch the Annihilation Sword move, but I was still outclassed by him, Jian Wushuang said to himself, his eyes held dark golden lights reflecting his shock. Fortunately, not long ago I have cultivated the Star River secret skill to level 12, making my overall strength improve quite a lot. Otherwise, his blow would have hurt me badly. It took Jian Wushuang 37 years to get to Circe's Island from the firmament territory. 37 years may be a very short amount of time for a man who had lived a long time, but it was very long for Jian Wushuang who had been born less than 200 years ago. His battle strength had been at the top of Step 4 of the Eternal Realm before he had left the firmament territory. During those 37 years, he kept fighting to temper himself in the grey zone, and thus he had made great progress. His swordsmanship was obviously much more remarkable, and his sword heart had reached the peak of level 2, very close to level 3. Actually, Jian Wushuang thought that he could break through to level 3 at any moment. Additionally, some of his secret skills had also improved significantly. For example, he had just crossed the threshold of the secret skill of the mind controlling and the Scarlet Eye before, while now he had a much higher mastery of them. His Star River secret skill had only reached level 11 with a power amplitude of 33 times, but now, it was at level 12 with the power amplitude of 36 times, 3 more times than before. Naturally, he was now capable of greater power. Combined with the innate superiority of the gold-armored ancient god and the boundless heaven sword art, Zhen Wushuang estimated that his battle strength had barely reached the threshold of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. His battle strength was already mighty. Unfortunately, his opponent now was Lei Xin, a real expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. The gap between them was certainly large. In terms of strength, I'm no match for Lei Xin, but I am very capable of fighting in close quarters and skilled in swordsmanship. With these two advantages, I can definitely contend against him, and even killed him in a frontal attack. Zhen Wushuang contemplated his chances, his eyes full of battle intent. The next moment, the 15-meter gold-armored ancient god rushed out, straight toward Lei Xin. "You're dooming yourself," Lei Xin shouted, holding his purple stone staff to meet Zhen Wushuang head-on immediately. As he waved the purple stone staff at random, a huge thunder dragon popped up. In a twinkling, they got close to each other and started fighting. It was clear that Zhen Wushuang was the underdog, and at times he was even completely subdued by Lei Xin. Still, Zhen Wushuang had no intention of running away. "In the 37 years I wandered around different places, I've met some powerful experts, but very few of them had ever needed me to fight with all my might. After being bored for so long, I finally meet a formidable opponent. It will be a pity if I don't go all out to fight him," Zhen Wushuang yelled in his heart. As an ancient god, he was inherently bellicose. It was rare to meet such a particularly powerful opponent. He surely would not miss such a chance of fight. Moreover, he was not worried at all about being killed by Lei Xin. The body of the gold-armored ancient god was tougher than one could imagine, and thus he would not be killed that easily. What was more, he had so many trump cards at his disposal that he actually did not need to fear Lei Xin. Boom, 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 boom. Loud sounds reverberated throughout the world. On the battlefield, the vast spiritual power was scattered everywhere. Many of the surrounding buildings collapsed and the ground was potholed. It was a terrible sight. But the fight still showed no sign of stopping. Instead, it intensified, reaching a fever pitch. Suddenly, "Stop!" A deep shout sounded like a thunderbolt between heaven and earth all of a sudden. Then, a group of sergeants in purple armor rushed towards the battlefield at astonishing speed. Several of these sergeants held such an overwhelming aura that Lei Xin had to take them seriously. The Circis army? Zhen Wushuang and Lei Xin both looked a little embarrassed. Then they stopped and retreated a few steps. When they were on their feet, Lei Xin was in good condition with his aura strong, while Zhen Wushuang cut a sorry figure, but his battle intent was exceedingly strong. "What are you doing?" That group of sergeants of the Circis army arrived in the middle of the battlefield. Their leader was a handsome, indifferent young man who carried a saber behind him. As soon as he arrived on the battlefield, he looked around, and as his eyes swept over Zhen Wushuang, a strange light flashed through his eyes, but he hid it in an instant. At the sight of this man, Zhen Wushuang also tried to pretend, but still a small gleam of surprise flashed in his eyes for a second. Actually, he was full of overjoy. "It's him." Chapter 804, Commander Yang. Chapter 804, Commander Yang. Both Zhen Wushuang and the indifferent man with the saber had recognized each other but kept their faces impassive. "Elder Lei Xin, you're getting so bent out of shape," the man said while casting Lei Xin a quick glance. "Oh, it's you, Commander Yang of the Circis army." Lei Xin looked at him and heavily said, "Zhen Wushuang tried to assassinate my disciple, and I'm going to kill him, shouldn't I? Besides, I've won 10 consecutive victories in the blood battle arena and got a Circis token. I'm not breaking the rules, am I? You both have Circis tokens and have the privilege of fighting on Circis Island. It would have been all right if you two had just fought with each other, but your fight caused a huge stir and even destroyed most of the surrounding streets. I couldn't just turn a blind eye to this," Commander Yang said. Lei Xin frowned at his words and looked all around. As the commander said, they had caused quite a scene, not only attracting a large number of experts but also destroying more than half of the surrounding streets, with the ground full of potholes. Long story short, the vicinity of the battlefield was horrible. Then Commander Yang continued, if you really want to fight it out or have a life-death duel, you can go straight to the blood battle arena. That's the place for you. Blood battle arena? Humph. Do you think he would dare to go to the blood battle arena with me? Lei Yixin questioned him while looking at Zhen Wushuang coldly. That's your business, but if you're going to continue with this unbridled fight, I have to do something about it. Commander Yang warned. Lei Yixin's face instantly fell. They were on Circis Island, where the Circis army had great power. Although he was the guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, even the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion could not help him if he really offended the Circis army openly. And he found that Zhen Wushuang was not weak at all. He is only a divine realm expert, but in a real fight, I cannot beat him with ease. He is also confident in himself. He dared to meet me head-on and didn't even try to run away. If he had tried to escape, I probably wouldn't have killed him even if the Circis army hadn't stopped us. Lei Yixin speculated inwardly. Then he clenched his hand tightly and said, Commander Yang, for the sake of you and the Circis army, I'll stop today. Then he turned to Zhen Wushuang, but it won't end like this. You are lucky today, but you won't be so lucky next time, he whispered the threat, glaring directly at Zhen Wushuang. As these words were spoken, Lei Yixin threw his sleeve and turned straight away. Seeing Lei Yixin leave, Commander Yang turned his eyes on Zhen Wushuang and said, come with me. You have to account for destroying so many things. Zhen Wushuang shrugged his shoulders, but followed him with great cooperation. As they all left, the surrounding streets became quiet again. In the dark secret chamber of a rather vast mansion on Circis Island, Zhen Wushuang sat quietly at a table, while Commander Yang, who had brought him there, stood while looking at him. Suddenly, Commander Yang turned over his hand, took out a pot of wine and handed it to Zhen Wushuang. Zhen Wushuang uncorked it and sniffed it. It smells good. What kind of wine is it? He asked. It's demon nectar, the best quality. Just this pot in the market is worth 2 million divine gems, and it has a price but no sales. I got 2 pots by chance. Usually, I don't drink it, Commander Yang said. Haha, you are a commander of the Circis army and also have a good wine worth 2 million divine gems. We parted for many years. Now you're really impressive, second brother. Zhen Wushuang laughed. Commander Yang was one of his sworn brothers from the ancient world, his second brother Yang Zishuan. He was the personal disciple of Emperor Xiao. When Zhen Wushuang left the ancient world, Yang Zishuan was still with Emperor Xiao. Now more than 100 years had passed, and he had not expected to see his sworn brother on Circis Island. Moreover, now both his status and strength were extraordinary. A commander of the Circis army. As far as I know, in the Circis army, the captains of the 10 Sergeant Squad are experts in the Eternal Realm. And the captains of the 100 Sergeant Squad are experts at Step 3 or 4 of the Eternal Realm. As for commanders, they are in charge of 500 sergeants, at least at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm. Zhen Wushuang stated his analysis. Tut, second brother, it's only been more than 100 years, and you've made amazing progress, he said full of admiration. Zhen Wushuang could see that Yang Zishuan had broken through to the Eternal Realm, and that, as a commander of the Circis army, he must be very powerful, at least as powerful as him. I can't compare with you. Yang Zishuan shook his head and said, you went to the Eternal World alone to attend the Firmament Territory Feast, and grew to the present step by yourself. But unlike you, I have made such great progress largely because of my master. Then he gave a rough account of his experience. After you left the ancient world, my master took me to a very strange place, where I got a very precious and important inheritance. Thanks to this inheritance and the many opportunities my master prepared for me, I got to this point and became the commander of the Circis army only a short time ago. Yang Zishuan's voice was flat as he spoke these words. Generally speaking, people would hide great opportunities like getting an inheritance in the bottom of their hearts, and would not tell others so easily like Yang Zishuan just had done. The reason why Yang Zishuan told Zhen Wushuang this without scruple was that he regarded Zhen Wushuang as his good brother. Good brothers could share almost everything. You're still pretty impressive. Jian Wushuang said, smiling and rejoiced at Yang Zishuan's great opportunity. By the way, why are you alone? Where's our big brother Wang Yuan? Didn't he come to the eternal world with you? He asked. Their fourth sister Su Ru left the ancient world a long time ago and should be in the eternal world, too. After her, Jian Wushuang set out alone to the Firmament Territory for the Firmament Territory feast. The reason that Yang Zishuan and Wang Yuan came to the eternal world was special. Their trip here had been arranged by Emperor Xiao. Our big brother Wang Yuan came to the eternal world with me, but is now not on Circis Island but in the Tang of the East. Are you passing by Circis Island on your way to the Tang of the East? Yang Zishuan asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. He was only temporarily staying on this island, and his real destination was indeed the Tang of the East. Chapter 805, Level 3. Chapter 805, Level 3. That's it. Yang Zishuan nodded. Then he added, you'll see our big brother Wang Yuan when you get to the Tang of the East. He's the chief alchemist there now. He's a lot better than the two of us. The chief alchemist of the Tang of the East. Jian Wushuang's eyes flew open in surprise. He had known Wang Yuan had great talent in alchemy, but he was not expecting him to be so incredible. He actually has become the chief alchemist of the Tang of the East in such a short time. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart with astonishment. Oh, third brother, why did you get into a fight with Lei Xin of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion? He seemed to be dying to kill you, Yang Zishuan asked curiously. Lei Xin's disciple is an enemy whom I had tried every means to kill in the ancient world. Today I have tried in vain to assassinate him. And Lei Xin found me in some way I didn't know, so there you go, Jian Wushuang replied. The enemy of the ancient world? You haven't killed him yet? Yang Zishuan frowned. He's too lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. If Su Ming hadn't brought a life-saving item with him today, Jian Wushuang would have already killed him. Lei Xin is not only powerful but also a guest elder of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion with great power. Besides, he's extremely difficult to get rid of. It's not a good thing to be targeted by him. Third brother, be careful. Yang Zishuan reminded him. Got it. Jian Wushuang replied. He did not despise Lei Xin at all. By the way, is this mansion yours? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, as a commander of the Circis army, I have an independent mansion just for me, Yang Zishuan answered. Then it should be safe here. Lei Xin wouldn't dare break in, would he? Jian Wushuang continued. Of course, no matter how bold he is, he would never try to break into the mansion of a commander of the Circis army, Yang Zishuan said with confidence. Good, Jian Wushuang nodded again and smiled. Second brother, please get me a secret chamber. I want to have closed-door cultivation for a few days. Have closed-door cultivation? Yang Zishuan was a little dumbfounded. I have a bottleneck, and I am on the edge of a breakthrough. I learned something from the fierce battle with Lei Xin just now. I only need to cultivate quietly for a few days, then I can break through this bottleneck and make a huge improvement in strength. By then I could contend with Lei Xin. Jian Wushuang said seriously. Oh, I see. Yang Zishuan understood and nodded. I'll get everything ready for you at once then. After he prepared everything Jian Wushuang asked for, Jian Wushuang immediately went in and began to cultivate. He had indeed learned a great deal from his battle with Lei Xin, even if it had not lasted too long. Long ago, his sword heart had reached the top of level 2, only one step away from level 3. He already felt that he could break through to level 3, and through the battle with Lei Xin, he had found the opportunity. Jian Wushuang sat quietly cross-legged in a secret chamber with his eyes closed and surrounded by layers of shocking sword essence. The sword essence was extremely profound and complex. Some were wanton, some fierce and domineering, and some others introverted and plain. In the end, these layers of sword essence fully integrated. The unification sword. No matter how different the sword essence was, the essence was still the same. After all, a sword was a sword. The sword essence was the sword essence. My sword heart is going to reach level 3. Jian Wushuang abruptly opened his eyes and a sharp sword light shot out of them. In his sea of consciousness, the extremely formidable sword heart began to change. In a moment, the metamorphosis was over. Now his sword heart had broken through to level 3, and his overall strength had also made a qualitative leap. His sword heart was now 10 times stronger. At the same time, his swordsmanship attainments would reach a new height. All in all, his power had shot up. When I fought with Lei Xin, my sword heart was only at the top of level 2. I was completely suppressed by him, and could only rely on my swordsmanship along with the tough body of the ancient god to barely contend with him. Now with my sword heart breakthrough, my strength has soared. I don't have to be afraid of him ever again if I fight him head-on. Jian Wushuang contemplated this happily, clenching his hands. He spent 3 days in the closed-door cultivation. When he walked out after the breakthrough, Yang Zixuan immediately came to him. "How is it, third brother?" Yang Zixuan demanded with concern. "It went smoothly. No obstacles." Jian Wushuang answered with a broad smile on his face. "So are you confident you can beat Lei Xin?" Yang Zixuan looked at him closely. "Yes, I'll go this evening," Jian Wushuang said confidently, with his eyes flashing sharp light. "This evening?" Yang Zixuan's mouth lifted. He then went on, "Do you need any help?" "No, thank you, second brother. It's easy for me to beat Lei Xin now. I won't stand on ceremony if I need your help." Jian Wushuang smiled. Yang Zixuan shrugged his shoulders and said nothing more. He was cold by nature, only slightly warmer to Jian Wushuang, Wang Yuan, and Su Ru. He didn't care about other people at all. Jian Wushuang soon set off to go to Lei Xin alone. The bright moon climbed high in the sky. Ablaze with lights, Circe's Island was still bustling. There were still a lot of people on the block of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. Jian Wushuang, dressed in a black robe, could see the situation of that block clearly. As I guessed, Su Ming has become more cautious after the last assassination attempt. Previously, he did not leave the block of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion but would walk around the block. However, now he spends all day with his master in that shop. As soon as I get close to that shop, his master will probably notice. Jian Wushuang hid in the void with the information he had collected. He is so careful. It is a lot harder for me to kill him now. I have to lure him away. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and quickly came up with a plan. Whoosh! With a move of his thought, a man suddenly appeared beside him. It was his slaughter body. In order to kill Su Ming, he would have to act in tandem with his slaughter body. Then he began to take action. His world body held the Emperor sword and flew away quietly, while his slaughter body remained where he was, carefully hidden. Chapter 806 Suppression. Chapter 806 Suppression. Inside the shop, Lei Yun sat quietly, next to a mysterious elder in a black robe. This mysterious elder had a peculiar aura, as if he was not there at all. As for Su Ming, he sat at the bottom with some constraint. Jian Wushuang and my disciple are sworn enemies. Although he failed to assassinate my disciple last time, he will never give up. With his temper, he will find a way to carry out assassination again. My disciple will just stay here for the time being. If Jian Wushuang comes, please help us, Mr. Wu, Lei Yun said, looking at that mysterious elder. Rest assured, Elder Lei. I'll keep my promise. What's more, we are both in Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. We should help each other, that elder smiled. All of a sudden, he looked up with a brow arched, and said, he has come. So soon? Lei Xin's face lit up with pleasure while Su Ming felt nervous inside. Lei Xin asked the mysterious elder, Mr. Wu, for help not only because he was formidable, but also because his psychic ability was extraordinary. Neither Lei Xin nor Su Ming noticed Jian Wushuang's approach, but Mr. Wu did. Oh, this boy is very careful. Instead of rushing closer, he lingered nearby. Mr. Wu laughed. Lei Xin looked closely at him. After a moment, Mr. Wu's eyebrows furrowed slightly. He has lingered for so long. It seems that he has no intention of taking action. He just wants to make sure whether your disciple is in this shop, he said. He has no intention of taking action. Lei Yixin repeated Mr. Wu's words with a nod. Knowing I'm here, it would have been odd if Jian Wushuang had acted without scruple, he thought. Hey, Mr. Wu's brows suddenly rose in surprise. What's going on? Lei Yixin asked anxiously at once. He seems to have given up. He is ready to leave. Mr. Wu laughed. Leave? Lei Yixin's face became hard. Humph, now that he has come on his own initiative, how could I let him leave, he said coldly. Mr. Wu, please join me to kill him. Lei Yixin let out a low shout. Then, a mighty air rose violently from him, and he instantly turned into a purple thunderbolt, flying out of the shop. At the same moment that Lei Yixin moved, the black-robed Mr. Wu smiled faintly before darting out. Both men took action simultaneously and Su Ming was left alone in the shop. Boom! Boom! Two gales of terrifying auras suddenly burst out like a bright beacon in the night. Wandering around the shop, Jian Wushuang noticed them immediately. Damn it, I'm exposed. Jian Wushuang looked a little worried and then darted straight into a dark void in the distance without hesitation. Young man, you want to run away? I won't give you any more chances to escape, Lei Yixin roared. Having nailed his eyes on Jian Wushuang, he pursued Jian Wushuang together with Mr. Wu. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures, one running ahead and 2 chasing after. They were moving so fast that they disappeared into the night sky soon after. Witnessing Lei Yixin and Mr. Wu disappear from sight, Jian Wushuang's slaughter body, who had been hiding in another void, revealed a cold smile on his face. The next moment, a 7-foot scarlet sword, like a sea of blood, appeared in his hand. It was the Blood Mountain sword that Jian Wushuang's master had given him. Buzz! Jian Wushuang's bloodline power burst forth. Seconds later, his slaughter body turned into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god. The gold-armored ancient god held the Blood Mountain sword, which was 12 meters now, in one hand. His ice-cold eyes exuded endless rage, and stared at the shop where Su Ming was. Su Ming, no one can save you this time. Jian Wushuang howled in a deep voice. Then he made a great leap, and his giant body appeared before the shop. He brandished his long sword and cut mercilessly across the shop. A huge sword shadow emerged, like another bright moon in the night, and was incomparably dazzling. Swish! The sword light erupted into raging power, and shattered the whole shop directly. Su Ming and some experts of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion in the shop turned pale at the sudden attack. They sprang out into the nearby void. But upon reaching the void, they saw a giant gold-armored ancient god with a terrifying aura in front of them. The size and aura of this gold-armored ancient god were so overwhelming that at the first sight of it, those experts felt terrified. It's Jian Wushuang. Su Ming stared fixedly at the gold-armored ancient god, who was also glaring fiercely at him. No, this couldn't be. You are clearly being pursued by my master and Mr. Wu. How could you possibly be here? How could this be? Su Ming was completely lost. Jian Wushuang was too lazy to explain and gave him a snort of contempt. Then he raised his Blood Mountain sword and struck at Su Ming. The horrifying sword essence covered Su Ming in an instant. As a superior divine realm expert, he was powerless to resist Jian Wushuang's attack. No, don't kill me. Su Ming was horrified and frantically growled and shouted. The fear of death was all that remained in his mind at this point. He didn't want to die. Humph, kill you. Rest assured, I won't kill you. Not only will I not kill you, I will do everything I can to make you live longer. I'll make you live for 10,000 years, 100,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years. Now that you're in my hands, I will let you know how lucky it will be to be dead. Jian Wushuang had a ferocious look on his face. The Blood Mountain sword he had swung at Su Ming abruptly changed. It was a huge scarlet sword of killing, like a boundless sea of blood, but the next moment, it transformed into a giant towering mountain. That mountain came down from the sky and came straight at Su Ming. Sword Mountain, suppression. With a flash of light in Jian Wushuang's eyes, He launched the secret skill of suppression attached to Blood Mountain Sword. Buzz! A black hole suddenly appeared in the bottom of the giant mountain, and mysterious cracks from the black hole swept out, blocking the sky and the sun, instantly forming a great spell formation. Su Ming was completely trapped in the spell formation, and was horrified to find that he could not move at all. He watched helplessly as the spell formation shrank, and so did himself. In the end, both the spell formation and he were completely engulfed by the black hole. Chapter 807 An Eternal Realm Puppet Fighter. Chapter 807 An Eternal Realm Puppet Fighter. In fact, from smashing the shop to suppressing Su Ming, Jian Wushuang had done all these in a split second. He acted so quickly that the surrounding experts of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion had no time to react, but Su Ming had already been suppressed. After all these, Jian Wushuang waved his hand slightly. The giant towering mountain began to shrink and return to his hand, instantaneously turning into a scarlet sword. Now that my purpose has been achieved, I'm leaving. Jian Wushuang grinned, then he immediately turned and flew away. These experts certainly would not allow him to leave. However, Jian Wushuang, who had turned into an ancient god, was as formidable as Lei Xin. The strong experts in the streets of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion were only at step 3 or 4 of the Eternal Realm. Even if they joined hands, they could not stop him. In the end, Jian Wushuang's slaughter body calmly left. At this time, Lei Xin and Mr. Wu were still in pursuit of his world body. His world body fled all the way, and finally left Circis Island to the endless waters outside the island. Humph, his courting death. Lei Xin's complexion was cold. If he stays on Circis Island, I'll still have some scruples because of the Circis army. Now that he has left the island, where there is neither shelter nor restraint, I will kill him in whichever way I want. Don't drop your guard. Mr. Wu turned to Lei Xin and reminded him, from his previous actions, he is wise enough to know that to leave Circis Island is to lose his refuge. Now that he has left the island, maybe he has a plan or even set a trap to get us here on purpose. A trap? Lei Xin said in disdain. He has just come here from the firmament territory and does not know anyone here. What kind of trap could he have? Unless... His face abruptly changed. He thought of a possibility. This had been a trick to lure the tiger from the mountain. Damn it. Lei Xin cursed. He quickly took out his message token and wanted to inquire about the situation in the shop. At this moment, Jian Wushuang, who had been scurrying ahead, suddenly stopped and turned to look at Lei Xin. You two chased me out for so long and even out of Circis Island. Aren't you tired? Jian Wushuang smiled, looking emboldened. This scene made Lei Xin and Mr. Wu look worse. By this time, Lei Xin had received news about the situation in the shop and discovered that Su Ming had been suppressed and taken away. Is it a doppelganger? You've actually cultivated the doppelganger secret skill? Lei Xin cried, shooting Jian Wushuang a frosty look. He knew it was Jian Wushuang who had taken his disciple away from the shop, and now there was another Jian Wushuang in front of them. To have two bodies concurrently, obviously, Jian Wushuang had cultivated the doppelganger secret skill. Haha, it's too late for you to know now. Jian Wushuang's mouth curved into a smile. Your disciple has fallen into my hands. He can't live. Humph, if my disciple is dead, then you'll have to go down with him. Lei Xin snarled. Go down with him? Really? Jian Wushuang sneered and pointed his emperor sword at him from afar. Lei Xin, I know you want to kill me, so I'll give you a chance. The Circis army interrupted our fight earlier. Now, let's fight again. Haha, that's ridiculous. I have Mr. Wu to help me. Do I really need to fight one-on-one with you? Lei Xin sniffed. Mr. Wu. Jian Wushuang looked over at the old man shrouded in the black robe beside Lei Xin. Then he said, well, you're only from the Eternal Realm. Which step have you reached? If an Eternal Realm expert did not exert his power, no one else could tell by the mere appearance of his aura which step he had reached, not even Jian Wushuang. I'm a worthless old man. I'm only at the peak of step 5, just like Elder Lei Xin, Mr. Wu said bluntly. Two experts at the peak of step 5? Jian Wushuang's brows arched. He had thought that Lei Xin was his only opponent, so Mr. Wu's appearance was totally unexpected, but he could still deal with him. Mr. Wu, I want to fight Lei Xin alone today, so you stay out of our fight, Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Then he waved his hand, and a strong figure of 3 meters high appeared in the void. The burly figure looked indifferent without any emotion, and its eyes were abnormally cold. It's a puppet fighter. The complexions of Lei Xin and Mr. Wu changed. They could see from a glance that it was a puppet fighter of a high rank. Actually, that puppet fighter was a present given to Jian Wushuang by his second senior brother Purple Mountain during their first meeting. Initially, Purple Mountain said that if the puppet fighter exerted all his strength at the cost of millions of divine gems, he was equivalent to that of an expert at the peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. The puppet fighter was one of Jian Wushuang's trump cards. It was the first time he had taken it out in front of others. Second senior brother said that although this puppet fighter is powerful, it consumes incredibly large amounts of divine gems. I have some divine gems, but I cannot afford to waste them. Jian Wushuang reflected for a while before he pointed to Mr. Wu and ordered the puppet fighter, hold him. Don't let him interfere with my fight. Yes. The 3-meter-high puppet fighter nodded dully and then darted out. He passed the void like a flash of thunder and appeared in front of Mr. Wu. Then his right hand clenched into a fist, gathering a terrifying force, and bombarded Mr. Wu. An interspatial ring was worn on a finger of the puppet fighter's right hand, of which there were tens of millions of divine gems. It was all the divine gems Jian Wushuang had collected. As he attacked Mr. Wu with his fist, hundreds of thousands of divine gems in the interspatial ring immediately turned into dust. This was when Jian Wushuang deliberately asked him not to play to his full strength. If he did his best, a single blow would cost millions of divine gems, and of course, it would generate more power. Boom! With this blow, several space rifts immediately spread out in the void. The alarming power had turned Mr. Wu pale, and the next moment he took out a black sickle. He wielded the sickle and swung out, carrying powerful knife essence, which collided with the puppet fighter's blow. Bang! There was a loud noise. Mr. Wu was smashed and flew out. Nonetheless, the puppet fighter's power did not decrease at all, and he aggressively pursued Mr. Wu. He soon overtook Mr. Wu, and it was clear that he had the upper hand. Mr. Wu was completely subdued and had no chance to fight back. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly at their fight. Afterwards he turned his eyes on Lei Xin again. Now it's just the two of us left. Chapter 808, Fighting Against Lei Xin Again. Chapter 808, Fighting Against Lei Xin Again. You're just a divine realm expert. How do you have such a mighty puppet fighter? Lei Xin cast a glance at the puppet fighter, which was at war with Mr. Wu, a gleam of eagerness flashing over his eyes. Puppet fighters were expensive. The value of such a powerful puppet fighter was boundless. Even he was not qualified to own one like this. Lei Xin, if you want this puppet fighter, then kill me. As long as you kill me, he's yours. Jian Wushuang provoked Lei Xin. That makes sense. Lei Xin slightly nodded. Now that you're courting death, I'll help you. His purple stone staff emerged in his hand, wrapped by thunderbolts. With the sound of thunder piercing the void in front of Jian Wushuang was broken open, and Lei Xin suddenly appeared. When he showed up, Lei Xin clenched his long staff in both hands and swung out angrily at Jian Wushuang. Thunder hell! After a deep howl, there was the sound of thunderbolt rushing through the void. Jian Wushuang then saw before him a vast web of thunderbolts. As the vast web was raging, a great power erupted from it and covered Jian Wushuang. As Lei Xin moved, Jian Wushuang had activated his bloodline power and turned into a 15-meter gold-armored ancient god, holding the enlarged emperor sword of 10 meters long. At the sight of the vast web of thunderbolts, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with fierce dark golden lights. Break! Along with a deep shout, Emperor Sword was wielded directly, bursting forth level 3 power of the sword heart. This strike was combined with level 12 power magnitude of the Star River secret skill and the great advantage of a gold-armored ancient god's innate strength. Jian Wushuang had put all his power into the strike. Splash! The sword light cut inexorably at the vast web of purple thunderbolts, making a large gash in its center, which caused endless thunderbolts to collapse and dissipate. Humph! Jian Wushuang sneered, and brandished the Emperor sword again. It was the first move of the Boundless Heaven sword art, the Annihilation sword move. It was a fierce, overwhelming blow, as though it had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Lei Yixin turned around and waved his purple stone staff at the same time. Immediately, countless staff shadows appeared in the void. These shadows overlapped to form a powerful blow. After a humming sound through the void, the stone staff collided with Jian Wushuang's Emperor sword. Clang! There was a loud noise. The huge aftermath of the collision swept away immediately. Boom! The water level below them instantly dropped by hundreds of feet, exposing many holes around which set off huge waves. Young man, it's only been a few days, but your strength seems to have improved a lot. No wonder you dare to challenge me head-on, Lei Yixin said, staring at Jian Wushuang steely. Through this fight, he found Jian Wushuang much more powerful than he had been 3 days ago. He, if I am not powerful enough, how dare I fight against you, an expert at step 5 of the Eternal Realm head-on? Jian Wushuang went on in a sarcastic tone. He then moved his wrist in a flash, swinging out the Emperor sword with great agility. Swoosh! 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 In a twinkling of an eye, Jian Wushuang had thrust out his sword dozens of times. Each strike was as fast as lightning, and could easily kill an average expert at step 1 or 2 of the Eternal Realm. Lei Yixin was flooded with dozens of sword shadows, making him feel like he had fallen into a sea of swords. As an expert at step 5 of the Eternal Realm, Lei Yixin's staff heart had long reached level 5, much higher than Jian Wushuang's sword heart at level 3. Perhaps he was not so good at close combat as Jian Wushuang was, but he was no worse at understanding his weapon than Jian Wushuang was. Whoosh! 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 Lei Yixin moved swiftly, and at the same time, he swung the stone staff in a quick and agile way. Whether it was chopping, stabbing, or sweeping, every move was flexible and smooth. Bang! 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 Awful deafening roars echoed across the sea one after another. The whole sea below had been turned upside down by the fierce battle between both men. Lei Yixin, is that all your strength? Jian Wushuang shouted in a deep voice, his dark golden eyes glaring at Lei Yixin. You bastard! Lei Yixin's face looked a little ugly. He did not expect that he would be looked down upon by a divine realm expert. He is much stronger than he was a few days ago. During the last fight, I could crush him completely, even though I couldn't kill him. Now, not only am I not in the upper hand, but I'm also losing, Lei Yixin thought sullenly. An expert at the peak of step 5 in the Eternal Realm unexpectedly can't win any upper hand in a fight with a divine realm expert. It was an absolute great shame. Young man, go to hell. Lei Yixin let out a roar. The next moment, his aura suddenly raged, and clusters of vast purple thunderbolts also burst out, filling the entire battlefield. 9 heaven thunder. Lei Yixin's face became distorted, and the purple stone staff in his hand suddenly swelled to a height of 30 feet. Boom! A great thunder suddenly descended from the sky, and the purple stone staff in Lei Yixin's hand seemed to initiate it. The purple stone staff guided this huge thunder, and then hurled at Jian Wushuang. Swash! The vast purple thunderbolt flowed through the void, causing space rifts to appear one after another. It was Lei Yixin's ultimate skill, the 9 heaven thunder. He had absolute confidence in this move. As the purple thunderbolt came to Jian Wushuang with overwhelming power, his pupils shrank. He dared not underestimate it. In the void, he, of 15 meters tall, suddenly raised his emperor sword high. As the sword was raised, the sword essence that burst out of Jian Wushuang was unstoppable, overwhelming and fully converging on the sword blade. Jian Wushuang's breathing became gentle, and the vast spiritual power and forces that burst out from him were completely gathered in the emperor sword at this moment. The third move of the Boundless Heaven sword art, the Red Shade sword move. Jian Wushuang suddenly launched another move. Boom! As Jian Wushuang waved his sword, a huge hazy sword shadow cut out. For a moment, the world was in dead silence. Then, two terrifying powers collided head-on. Bang! There was a tremendous rumbling sound like the sky and earth was falling apart. After the roar sounded, two figures shot back towards the rear at an alarming speed simultaneously. Jian Wushuang's tall body retreated hundreds of feet, while Lei Yixin was obviously in a worse situation. Jian Wushuang only retreated, with his blood surging, while Lei Yixin was shaken, his mouth spilling blood. He looked pale, and his aura was weaker than before. Chapter 809 Blood Mountain Sword's Power. Chapter 809 Blood Mountain Sword's Power. No, how could this be? Lei Yixin, I'm an expert at the peak of Step 5 of the Eternal Realm and he's just a Divine Realm expert, but how come I can't beat him? Lei Yixin wiped the blood from his mouth and glared in disbelief at Jian Wushuang in the distance. By this time, Jian Wushuang had calmed the blood in his body and appeared in front of Lei Yixin again. Haha, Lei Yixin, you're not all that powerful, are you? Jian Wushuang gave him a wry smile. Humph, I admit that you are much stronger than I thought. I can't kill you alone. Nevertheless, don't get cocky. There are countless experts in this world, and even on Circis Island, many experts are stronger than you and can kill you easily. With my identity, I can easily pay a price and ask some experts to kill you, Lei Yixin threatened in a freezing voice. Oh, really? Jian Wushuang gave a non-committal tilt of his mouth, but then he shook his head and said, Do you think I will give you this chance to do that? What? Lei Yixin's face instantly darkened, and he then noticed that a man was coming at tremendous speed from the direction of Circis Island behind him. Soon, the man arrived in front of him. Your doppelganger? The man looked exactly like Jian Wushuang. He was certain that Jian Wushuang had cultivated the doppelganger secret skill, and that the man he had just fought against was too powerful to be his doppelganger. Oh, so you think you can keep me by joining forces with your doppelganger? Lei Yixin said scornfully. It was a well-known fact of doppelganger secret skill, that the doppelganger was much less powerful than the original body. Therefore, Lei Yixin did not feel the slightest fear when he saw Jian Wushuang's doppelganger. Haha, you're not strong enough for my original body to join forces with my doppelganger, Jian Wushuang said with a frigid smile. With that, his slaughter body came to him quickly, and then his two original bodies became one again. The two original bodies were born because of the heavenly creation skill he had cultivated. The two original bodies were of equal strength, and their battle strength would not be greatly affected when they were united as one. The only difference was that Jian Wushuang fought against Lei Yixin with the Emperor Sword just now. Meanwhile, Slaughter Body suppressed Su Ming with the Blood Mountain Sword. At this moment, the Blood Mountain Sword held by Jian Wushuang stretched to 12 meters long. The Blood Mountain Sword was refined for me by my master at great cost. Its power is exceptionally mighty, and has already transcended the eternal weapon. I've never really exercised its full power since I got it. And Su Ming was just suppressed by its own powers of suppression. Now let me see how capable this sword is. Jian Wushuang had a glimmer of expectation in his eyes. In the next moment, with an eccentric move, Jian Wushuang had passed through the void and appeared in front of Lei Yixin. The Blood Mountain Sword was scarlet like a boundless sea of blood. It gave a slight tremor and then thrust out directly. It was a simple, casual sword, and though Jian Wushuang had unleashed his power to the utmost, he did not display any secret skill. All in all, he wielded his sword in a simple and usual way. The light of the sword was piercing and swung towards Lei Yixin. Lei Yixin found that there was nothing extraordinary about the blow, so he resisted Jian Wushuang's sword calmly with his stone staff. Thus, the Blood Mountain Sword seemingly like a boundless blood sea collided straight with the stone staff covered with purple thunderbolts. Crash! A low voice was heard, accompanied by a slight crack of the instrument. What? Lei Yixin stared at the purple stone staff with his enlarged eyes. He saw that there was a slight crack in the place where the stone staff hit Jian Wushuang's sword. Although that crack was tiny, it still made Lei Yixin feel inconceivable. At the same time, He felt the power from Jian Wushuang's sword several times stronger than before. That power had frightened him. Step 6. No sooner had he thought of it than the terrifying power came over his arm. Puff. Blood spurted from Lei Yixin's mouth. He went deathly pale, staggered and tried to retreat. But Jian Wushuang obviously did not intend to give him any chance to run away. After he seriously injured Lei Yixin with his sword, he continued to gain momentum and took advantage of the situation to kill him. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. With an indifferent, emotionless look, Jian Wushuang urged the power of Blood Mountain's sword to the greatest extent, and then waved it for 4 times in succession. Each of these 4 strikes was very common. They were only the simplest of cuts, without any delicate swordsmanship. Although retreating quickly, Lei Yixin still wielded his stone staff to ward off the 4 blows. Clang, 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 clang. There were 4 crash sounds consecutively. Each time the horrifying power that the Blood Mountain sword contained would explode, which was tantamount to a hard hammer hammering Lei Yixin's heart. After fending off 4 times, Lei Yixin felt as if he was about to collapse completely. What made him even more frightened was that there were more and more cracks in his stone staff. After the 4th collision, crack, a crisp sound rang out. The eternal weapon in Lei Yixin's hand was considered decent, but it was broken in pieces. How is it possible? It's an eternal weapon, how can it be broken? Lei Yixin was dumbstruck, with his eyes wide open. Jian Wushuang didn't display any other secret skills, but simply changed a magic weapon. As a result, he totally outclassed him now, although he only occupied a small advantage in the past. With the previous strike, there were a total of 5 strikes. It was the simple 5 strikes that smashed his magic weapon and seriously wounded him. Run. A trace of fear rose in Lei Yixin's heart, and he had lost all his battle intent. When life and death were at stake, he neglected his disciple's enmity. Now he only wanted to save his own life. He wanted to escape, but Jian Wushuang did not plan to let him off. Jian Wushuang again wielded his sword. This strike was a secret skill, Twilight. It was the fastest strike. As the sword was thrust out, a strange power immediately swept out from Jian Wushuang. It was the mind-controlling secret skill of the ancient god secret skill. In the past 37 years, Jian Wushuang's mastery of the 3 secret skills of the ancient god clan had greatly improved. Now he fully exhibited the mind-controlling secret skill that was enough to contend with an expert at Step 3 of the Eternal Realm, but for an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm, it had little effect. Unfortunately, Lei Yixin had been seriously wounded, and his will was on the verge of breaking down. More importantly was that Jian Wushuang had been too close to him. Chapter 8:10 The Pavilion Master. Chapter 8:10 The Pavilion Master. They were too close indeed. With such close distance, although Jian Wushuang had just performed the mind-controlling secret skill, and Lei Yixin only paused for a moment in shock, Jian Wushuang's Twilight move had already attacked him. Splash! The sword light momentarily pierced Lei Yixin's head and shattered his life core. Lei Yixin, an expert at Step 5 of the Entral Realm, had died. After slaying Lei Yixin, Jian Wushuang took away his interspatial ring and treasures, and then stood there, looking at the Blood Mountain sword in his hand with his eyes blazing. It's at Step 6. Previously, I did my best, but my battle strength could only reach the top of Step 5. But with the Blood Mountain sword, my battle strength soared to Step 6. Moreover, this sword is so powerful that with only 5 blows, it shattered Lei Yixin's eternal weapon. This sword is so terrifying. Terrifying. That was what Jian Wushuang really thought about the Blood Mountain sword. It is indeed a sword that Xianyi refined himself. It is worthy of being a supreme magic weapon that is above the Eternal Realm. Jian Wushuang marveled at the Blood Mountain sword in his heart. The power of this sword was far beyond his imagination. Unfortunately, I am too weak to urge its full power now. But a small fraction of the power that I could urge is enough to make me much more powerful. When I break through to the Eternal Realm and even become a Dao Master, I should be able to exert all its power. How formidable will I be then? Jian Wushuang secretly looked forward to it. In fact, he still had a slight distance from the eternal realm, let alone to become a Tao master. In a short period of time, it was impossible for him to fully exert the power of Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang regained his composure after a moment. Lei Xin is dead, then. Jian Wushuang murmured, and looked far away at the other battlefield with a chill in his eyes. In another battlefield, his puppet fighter of the Eternal Realm was fighting against Mr. Wu furiously. Previously, Jian Wushuang had ordered the puppet fighter to pester Mr. Wu so that he wouldn't have a chance to interfere with Jian Wushuang's fight with Lei Xin. Thus, the puppet fighter didn't do his best, but he still crushed Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu's panic increased when he saw Jian Wushuang in the battlefield. What happened? Mr. Wu looked around blankly, and asked, "Why are you here alone? Where's Lei Xin?" He had just been overwhelmed by the puppet fighter. Moreover, the two battlefields were far apart, so he did not witness Jian Wushuang killing Lei Xin. Lei Xin? Jian Wushuang looked at Mr. Wu with a thin smile, and answered, "He's dead. If you want to find him, I can send you to see him." Lei Xin is dead. Mr. Wu glared at him, but then shook his head and said, "That's impossible. You're just a divine realm expert. How can you kill Lei Xin? You'll know in a minute whether I can kill him or not, because you'll die too." Jian Wushuang said fiercely, the viciousness in his eyes raging. Now he had killed Lei Xin and suppressed Su Ming. Actually, the goal had been achieved. But because of Mr. Wu's appearance, he had to have his puppet fighter to fight against him. You knew, every strike the puppet fighter of the Eternal Realm made would cost a great deal of divine gems. The fierce battle between Jian Wushuang and Lei Xin lasted for a long time, during which the puppet fighter kept fighting with Mr. Wu and consumed more than 10 million divine gems. The cost was too great that Jian Wushuang had to kill Mr. Wu to cover it. "Kill him now," Jian Wushuang ordered without hesitation. Upon hearing the command, the 3-meter-high puppet fighter exerted his real power. At the same time, millions of divine gems in Jian Wushuang's interspatial ring were immediately consumed, and he darted towards Mr. Wu at an alarming speed. He was going too fast. It was far beyond what an expert at Step 5 of the Eternal Realm could do. Even the average experts at Step 6 of the Eternal Realm could not move so fast. Why is he so fast? Mr. Wu looked terrified. In the meanwhile, he also noticed that Jian Wushuang was coming to him. Damn it! He tried to flee, but the Eternal Realm puppet fighter had caught up. As the puppet fighter held his right hand, his fist condensed terrifying power, and then burst out at Mr. Wu. The power contained in this fist was much more powerful than that of the previous one. It was an earth-shaking blow with the power that had reached the peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm, and Mr. Wu had sensed it clearly. His eyes were blank and his heart was filled with despair. But at this moment, humph! A cold snort like a sudden explosion of thunder from the calm void suddenly sounded on the sea. This cold hum also carried a terrifying power, which hit the puppet fighter immediately. The puppet fighter's attack was immediately resolved, and his 3-meter-high figure retreated like a cannonball. He rolled over continuously and only regained his position after a long while. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. The puppet fighter had gone all out, and burst the battle strength of the peak of Step 6. Generally speaking, he could compete with an expert at the peak of Step 6 of the Eternal Realm. But now, he had not even seen the opponent, but was blasted out by a cold snort. How strong? Jian Wushuang wondered. With a burst of buzzing, a tall figure suddenly came. He was a bald man in a holy white robe. He looked cold and his eyes were filled with faint anger. A suffocating, horrifying pressure came out of him. As soon as Jian Wushuang noticed the pressure, he frowned and his heart tightened. This coercion was definitely by no means from an Eternal Realm expert. Thus, the strength of this bald man was beyond doubt. He was a Tao master. Here came a Tao master. Seeing the sudden appearance of the bald man, desperate Mr. Wu instantly revealed a look of surprise. He looked at the man with enthusiasm in his eyes and bowed low to him. Pavilion Master. Pay respects to Pavilion Master, Mr. Wu called out excitedly. Pavilion Master? Jian Wushuang's face changed. Like Lei Xin, Mr. Wu was also a man of the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion. Thus, the bald man was the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion Master. He was one magnet of the 6 biggest forces on Circis Island. He was a real Dao Master. Did the Heavenly Cloud Pavilion Master come here because I killed Lei Xin? Jian Wushuang wondered, knitting his brows. Then he looked at the bald man, feeling bitter and puzzled. This is outside of Circis Island. Why did the Pavilion Master of Heavenly Cloud Pavilion come here? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.